Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
This is a catastrophe.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
That's what I wished for when I blew out my candle.
Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Raising Cane studio. This is Hunt Palmer.
The floor is yours.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Raising Cane studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday. About half the work week in the rearview mirror. Brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. Got Jordan Kitchens, Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos. And we got plenty for you here on this Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We're going to get into some Ole Miss discussion. That's where we are in our LSU schedule. Do three things on the Revel in hour number 2. Sharif Ishak is at Saints OTAs today. He will have watched. It's actually minicamp. I switch those constantly. He's at Saints minicamp today, which is not optional. It's mandatory. He was there watching practice. He'll be asking some questions in the locker room, and then we'll talk to Sharif at 2:30. He's usually with us on Tuesdays. Could not join us yesterday because of Cam Jordan. We'll talk about that in 15 minutes, but lots of Saints content today. College World Series. 4 teams are left. We'll talk about that at the end of hour number 1. It's What If Wednesday. If you got what ifs, fire them away in the Bayou Ford chat on YouTube as well as our text line. That's 225-499-1045. So lots and lots to get to. Let's crank it up with our opening drive.
Welcome to the big league.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive. Presented by Fabry Chevrolet GMC in St. Francisville.
You know, you kind of looked up in mid-December at this LSU football roster, and you could have gone, you know, they're a little bit short on running backs in Baton Rouge, because you realize you're looking at a backfield that was really headlined by Caden Durham and Harlem Berry. And you look up and you realize that Caleb Jackson's moving on, and then Frank Wilson moves on, and you know how much Harlem Berry and Frank Wilson, how much history is between those two. Caden Durham kind of lost his job last year, and so you're looking at this going, well, I mean, I could see a world where those two guys, maybe Keywan Lacey comes, and that'd be awesome because LSU got Lane Kiffin, and maybe Lacey comes, and you're hearing the video of Lane Kiffin in the car saying, ha, no, Keywan Lacey and Kevin Smith are coming. But, like, there was some uncertainty, and you're looking at the running back depth going, this doesn't look right. Well, you can go ahead and put those concerns in the rearview mirror, because LSU may not have a Heisman Trophy winner at running back. They might not. They may have a first-team All-SEC back. They might not. They may finish first in the SEC in rushing. They may finish 14th. I don't know what the results will be, but depth is not a problem anymore as Kevin Smith is running the show over there. Not only do they retain Harlem Berry, they retained Caden Durham, then went out in the transfer portal and grabbed Dylan Jones, who was running with the ones. He's an impact guy. They go get Rod Gainey from Charlotte. They go get Stacey Gage from UCF. They get Racine Guillory from Utah. And I'm looking up in spring ball, and you've got 6 scholarship running backs, not one of them a senior. And Harlem Berry is a sophomore, and Dylan Jones is a sophomore, and Rod Gainey is a sophomore, and Stacey Gage is a sophomore, and Racine Guillory is a freshman. That's entering this coming season. So you've got 6 backs, and only one of them is eligible to move on to professional football next year. Now, I'm not naive enough to know that that's a group that's just going to stick together for 3 years, but you've got the numbers on this roster. And then you turn your attention to the high school class, where LSU did not sign a tailback in last year's high school class, and you go, well, I guess it's time to dip into that as well. And 10 days ago, LSU reeled in Brennan Lacey, who's a 3-star back, 33rd in the country, 5'11", 190 from Texas. And then yesterday, Trey Segarra pledges to LSU, 4-star back, number 7 overall back in the nation, according to On3 and Rivals. He's 5'10", 210. And then today, you go into the backyard, you go to Franklin Parish, and you pick up Trey Martin, 6 feet, 201, 4-star back, number 11 in the country, the number 7 player in the state of Louisiana. If I play the hypothetical game and Caden Durham plays for LSU as a senior, it is a hypothetical. It's not assured. It's certainly possible. I'm looking at 9 running backs. I think those numbers will do. So in a very, very short amount of time, LSU has gone out and very much restocked the shelves. It was a depleted position. It reminded me, as I was looking at this earlier today, of that line in Forrest Gump when he gets all the money towards the end, and he says in the monologue, told us we invest in some fruit company, so we didn't have to worry about money anymore. It's when they invest in Apple. I said, well, good. It's one less thing. And I'm kind of looking at running back going, well, I guess we don't have to worry about running back anymore. Good. That's one less thing. On an ever-evolving roster that's constantly turning players over at positions time and time and time again, they got running back stocked. I can't promise you who's great on this roster, who's going to transfer after this football season. I can promise you that multiple guys on this list of 9, whether it's the kids that committed in the high school class or the players that are on this roster this season, multiple of those 9 will not be part of LSU's football program by Christmas. We can all agree on that, but that's okay. That's at every position. But Kevin Smith has come in and identified players that he feels comfortable with and brought them into the fold, whether that's on this team or in this high school commitment class currently. They have made their pitch, and they have brought guys in that clearly are not afraid of competition. That's obvious. Caden Durham could have bolted. I'm sure Frank Wilson would have taken him at Ole Miss. Harlan Berry could have bolted. I know they would have taken him at Ole Miss. Those guys would have had offers from SEC schools immediately had they jumped in the portal. They stuck around, and with those 2 guys who were the top 2 backs basically on last year's team, and then Durham was the leading rusher 2 years ago, you were still able to go to the portal and bring 4 guys in that had options. Dylan Jones was a top 10 running back in the country coming out of high school. He goes to Wisconsin, redshirts a year, plays a year. Now he comes in. He knew all these guys were here. Didn't bother him. He came in, wanted to play. And he is. And so I trust Kevin Smith implicitly to develop backs, because you look at what he did at Ole Miss, and it's easy to look at Quinshon Judkins as the all-SEC back, as the All-American from Ole Miss, as the guy who went to Ohio State and was part of a championship team and is a really, really, really good back. It's easy to look at him now. He was not that when he showed up as a freshman at Ole Miss. Part of that was Kevin Smith's identification. Part of that was the development. And part of that is him being a damn good football player. But it wasn't just a Quinshon Judkins thing. Now, he moved on and they struggled to run the ball the following season, but Kejuan Lacey was sitting a bench at Missouri. He wasn't a superstar. And Kevin Smith and Lane Kiffin looked at him and go, yeah, that'll work. And he became, you could argue, the best back in the country at the end of last year. Now, there were some really good ones. I'm not going to stake that claim that he certainly was, but he was certainly in the discussion. So I'm not here to give a scouting report on Brennan Lacey from Frisco, Texas, and tell you what he's going to be. I'm not here to tell you why Trey Segarra is awesome. I can tell you that he's big, he's physical, he plays soccer, and he's fast. And I know that Trey Martin has been an incredibly productive Louisiana tailback, and LSU has taken incredibly productive Louisiana tailbacks in the past, and it's been really successful. Last week, I routed off 20 dudes from the state of Louisiana from 2000 and now that have been great backs at LSU. Some of them were 5 stars, top 5 in the country. Some of them were 4 stars. Some of them were 3 stars. Some of them had great pro careers. Some of them didn't play pro football. But Louisiana backs have been really good. Trey Martin is the best back in Louisiana in this class. LSU went and got him. And you've adequately created depth. And we know that Harlan Berry and Caden Durham can carry the mail in the SEC. They've done it before. So this was a position. It's kind of hard to think about now because things happen so quickly and there's a lot of names involved and we're all on to Clemson. Nobody's really thinking about December of last year. But I do recall sitting here in December going, if Durham and Berry transfer, they don't have a running back. I'm sure they'll get one, and hopefully it's Lacey, but you need 5, and they might not have any. And now you look up and I'm counting 9. Now again, those 9 will not be together. There will be defections either in the class or from the roster in 2026. But starting with 9, a pretty good way to get to 5 or 6, right? So this is a positive for LSU. These are guys that are highly rated. You're talking about 2 of the top 11 backs in the country, according to On3. We know that Harlan Berry was the number 1 back, according to On3. We know that Caden Durham is a really good player, and I believe, as I said, all spring long, and I will stand by this, and I'll talk about this in August. I'll talk about it in July at SEC Media Days. I'll talk about it the Friday of the Clemson game. I'll talk about it. Dylan Jones is going to play, and he's good. So I like where LSU is from a running back perspective. Today was another good day. I just think it's a good day to go get a Louisiana prospect, even in a very, very crowded room, to be part of your class. I don't want Ole Miss coming in and getting that guy. I don't want Florida coming in and getting that guy. John Summerall spent time in Louisiana. He's going to recruit Louisiana. Keep him away. You know Frank Wilson's going to go after Louisiana players. He's trying. Now, deep down in his heart, I'm pretty sure he's glad that Trey Martin's going to LSU. But that's a story for a different day, okay? Story for a different day. Frank Wilson, big LSU guy. Just didn't have a spot on the staff, so he's cashing a paycheck at Ole Miss. But I'm thrilled that LSU reeled Trey Martin in. I think that's a really good thing. And when you look at LSU from a depth perspective and from a talent perspective at the running back position, they are stocked for years to come here. Things happen very quickly. Guys move on, but it stands to reason LSU and Kevin Smith in a really good spot. And Kevin Smith's going to do a great job as running backs coach here. I said that from the beginning. I told you, and you can go back. Like I said, I like having Frank Wilson on the staff. I think it's a positive for LSU. If he leaves, LSU's not going to fall apart at running back. And Kevin Smith's a great running backs coach, and he's doing a great job right now. And that's evidence is the talent he's reeled in. And I watched him coach those guys because he was 5 feet from us on the practice field. That's where we're allowed to stand. He's a really good coach, and he's got a good room now. So that's a good spot for LSU as they bring in Trey Martin and the class of 2027. Third running back commitment in the last 10 days for Kevin Smith and LSU. You will certainly take that. We're off and running here on the Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. They're online at builtbyrenaissance.com. That's builtbyrenaissance.com. We'll step aside when we come back. What Cam Jordan had to say after his kids took the mic. We'll talk about that next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
GoTro's Outdoor Power. It's GoTrosOnline.com, but go by and see him. Well, why go by and see him, Hunt? Well, this is the week of the year to go by and see them. It is Father's Day week, you all know, and they're having awesome, awesome sales events over at GoTro's Outdoor Power. For the entire month of June, they've had $200 off of the Hustler Raptor Series. For the entire month of June, they've had Hustler Fast Track Series $500 off. For the entire month of June, they've had those Hustler commercial mowers up to $1,500 off, and that continues throughout June. But this week, Father's Day week, if you go in and see the available stock that they have, by the way, they're the largest Hustler dealer in the state, you're going to get no sales tax this week. That's running out. You got until the 20th, which is in 3 days. So if you're looking for a new zero-turn mower, you're looking for something to help maintain that property during these summer months, go to GoTro's Outdoor Power this week. 2 locations, Airline Highway in Baton Rouge, and of course in Gonzales as well. And go get these incredible savings on their line of Hustler products. It's GoTro's. They're online at GoTrosOnline.com.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Wednesday show is brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools. They're online at builtbyrenaissance.com, builtbyrenaissance.com. I always tell you they're more than happy to build you the pool of your dreams at Renaissance Homes and Pools. They've done it for dozens and dozens of Baton Rouge area folks over the years, but it doesn't have to be a new pool. Maybe you built your pool 10 to 15 years ago. Maybe it's time for a remodel. If you've got plaster that is fading, maybe it's peeling, Renaissance Homes and Pools can come in and they can remove that old and reinstall the new. They don't even have to remove the water line, but it could be a good time to do that if you're updating the pool. That new water line tile and plaster is going to make your pool look brand new. And the remodel can expand to decking and your pool equipment. Maybe you can add automation to control the pumps, the heater, the lights, the valves. All that can really give new life to an existing pool if it's a decade plus old. So look, if you're looking for a new pool, Renaissance Homes and Pools can help. If you've got a pool, but it needs a facelift, Renaissance Homes and Pools can help you with that as well. Give Joey Blanchard a call or shoot him a text message. He's the owner of the company. He gives you his cell phone number every single week on these shows on Wednesdays. 225-252-7745. That's 252-7745. You can also check them out at builtbyrenaissance.com. It's Renaissance Homes and Pools. They bring you our Wednesday shows each and every week. North Carolina off and running in Omaha. West Virginia is going to have to beat the Heels twice, and North Carolina has struck first in the top of the first. It is 1-0 Tar Heels there from Charles Schwab Field. Of course, we'll have some action tonight between the Georgia Bulldogs and the Oklahoma Sooners in an all-SEC showdown. But North Carolina on the board early over West Virginia. West Virginia, again, going to have to beat them today and tomorrow to get to the championship series. North Carolina just one win away. 2-0 now, North Carolina there in the top of the first. All right, Cam Jordan announced yesterday that he is re-signed with the New Orleans Saints and is going to play what we believe to be his final season as a New Orleans Saint. So we'll let Cam kind of talk his way through the process as he saw it, because we gave you our opinion yesterday on kind of how we saw it. But Cam knows certainly better than us. This was his opening statement on returning to New Orleans.
Just, overly appreciative of the Saints organization, of you guys, of every random fan that we've talked to the last 15, 16 years. Like I said, just excited to be back in the city. I think we got a lot of work to accomplish, especially with the Cam Jordan Foundation, how we've been able to send kids to school the last couple of years. Looking forward to doing more. I think we're about to activate, 16 years, 16 weeks of give backs to New Orleans. We've got so much plans in the works already. Even if I hadn't been here, I still would have give back. But I'm overly blessed and highly favored for being here.
And that's an interesting opening statement, and I think one that comes from the heart. You didn't hear any football there. That's a guy who is connected to the city, which is such an awesome thing, and it's something we talked about yesterday where it's just very rare for a player to spend his entire career, especially one that is ticketed for the Hall of Fame, in one city. And Cam Jordan is going to do that. But we had our doubts, especially when the Saints went and fortified their edges with two veterans in the offseason. So did Cam have any doubt he'd be back in New Orleans?
The open line of communication I've had with Mickey as well as the Saints and all my guys here has been nothing short of a blessing. And at the end of the day, it was mutual benefit for us to come back. From what I want to do with perspective, I always believe in, black and gold and how, I'm still pumping up the draft like I'm still part of the team. I don't think that is ever going to change. The way that I want to affect this city, I don't think that's ever going to stop. I think I still went to a couple school visits. Of course, there's always avenues that you could take that'll take you away from home, but it's become home for us. So you always end up back at the crib.
Always end up back at the crib, huh? You'll hear the question here, but the question is asked, and Cam gave an answer. Did he ever consider another offer?
Did you seriously consider it like any other offer?
No. I would not. Why would you? No, I would never.
And there's a tongue-in-cheek aspect to that. Certainly, there probably were other teams interested. I can't speak to an offer, and Cam's playing a little bit coy there, but you would imagine there was some interest, but not to the level that was going to pry him from a place that he really wanted to be. Now, I thought this was a great question that was posed, is why not join a, quote, contender and try to chase a Super Bowl?
One, because they're all cold. Ew. And two, when you look at our roster, you see the growth, you see the development, you see Tyler Shuck, you look at CO, you see the explosiveness of a Jordan Tyson. You see how Devon Valet was playing last year. You see Jawan Taylor. We bring in some WWE kids. I just think there's so much talent on the roster itself.
And look, there is some exciting aspects to this New Orleans roster. There's no question. I don't think anybody is going to call them a true contender in August of this year. The Saints would have to play their way into a surprise to become that. But there are exciting aspects to what's going on in New Orleans, and I think it's natural for Cam to want to be a part of some of that, for sure. Now, I've told you that in my experience with NFL players, which is real limited, but it's multiple, and Jeremy Hill would sit right there and tell you that they always think they're a contender. And I think that there are going to be people in that Saints locker room, maybe most of them, that think they've got a chance to do something special this year. We'll see if that's the case. But contracts are important to all NFL players, and Cam talked about the negotiations and getting things structured the way that the things ended up.
And in any negotiation, there's always going to be things that you want and can get through. And at the end of the day, it was more along the lines of what our family felt. So I kept sort of deferring to not only my foundation but to my wife about. Well, I was like, "Yo, it's good to come back, right?" I was like, "We're not going to have any." Great. All right. So as long as we were clear there. Contract-wise, there was a couple bumps that we just cleared up recently, and then it sort of cleared the path.
And I think that once we get all of the details of the contract, we'll be able to comment it further. But based on the reporting that was done, Ian Rappaport had things first yesterday. Sounds like the Saints got really what they wanted there. And they wanted an incentive-laden deal. They wanted a one-year deal, and that's what you got. And I think Cam Jordan probably wanted the incentives to be rather sizable because I think he believes there is still a lot left in that tank. And his statistics from last year would back that up. He was excellent against the run. And while his Pro Football Focus grade wasn't fantastic when it comes to pass rushing, the production was with 10.5 sacks and a number of other pressures. So I think Cam Jordan thinks he can earn a significant amount of money. And I think the Saints are willing to pay him that money if he earns it. And that was really probably what things came down to from that perspective. But Cam talked about what was the deciding factor here.
The dad, like I said about 2 weeks ago, he's like, hey, man, you're affecting our lives here. I was like, oh, no, I did not know that. I could have sworn us moving to Arizona, it would have been the same everyday routine. But no, that'd be the final part. When you look at these, 4 beautiful kids growing up, their whole lives have been here, so they don't know how not to carry on. And when you had that conversation, I was like, all right, let me just humble myself here and let's get this done, which is awesome because I've got, like I said, I've got so much intended for this city with this upcoming year.
That's really cool because we talk about it all the time. The disconnect between the fans and the players is the business. And that's when dollars and cents come. Because when you go in the Superdome to watch the Saints play, when you plop down on the couch in your jersey after church on Sunday and you fire up the Saints, you do not care how much money the right guard makes or the edge rusher makes. You don't care. You only care about the wins and losses. The players don't care as deeply day to day, year to year, decade to decade as you do about the uniforms, about the franchise. They're mercenaries in large part. But there are some that grow attached and then they plant roots and then that becomes an impactful thing. And in Cam's case, I truly believe that. I don't think he's making that up. Now, I don't know what else was on the table. And it's possible that he turned down a more lucrative guaranteed offer to stay home so his 4 kids could go to the same school and they could live in the same house and he could be a part of the same locker room and all that. We don't know that. But I think that it's reasonable to determine that Cam Jordan, the organization and the city and his foundation and his 4 kids certainly mean a lot. And if that meant taking a little bit of a haircut financially in his 16th season, so be it. That's what we're going to do. Speaking of that 16th season, the final season, and Cam talked about that.
I don't ever want to do this again. This whole offseason, I just told Kai, I was like, I don't like this, yeah. So we're going to take it. We're going to take everything the way we want to. Year 16, I mean, how many more years do you want me to play? Like, what do you want from me? I definitely am going to take to this like every game is my last to ever play. And I'm going to be, like I said, overly appreciative of all my teammates. I'm overly blessed and excited to be back with the team. I can't wait for summer camp.
So a non-answer there. And look, if he has 11.5 sacks this year, we'll revisit. If his playing time dwindles to very little because you went and got Anthony Jennings and he plays more, or Tyree Wilson plays more, and he has 2.5 sacks this year and plays 31% of the defensive reps, I think the writing's on the wall and you realize, okay, that's it. But we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. This was the bridge that needed to be crossed this offseason. And I think for all parties involved, based on Cam's press conference yesterday where he sat 3 of his kids up there who talked to the media for 10 seconds each, and he had a big smile on his face, and he talked about the city and talked about wanting his family to be home and talked about his 16 years and 16 weeks and giving back and talked about the excitement of the locker room. And it just seemed like he was really happy yesterday. And obviously we feel like he can be additive to the roster and certainly additive to the franchise this year. It seems like everybody kind of got what they wanted. And if the Saints this year can play him for whatever percentage of the snaps that is, he can have a nice finish off season, can get a curtain call in the dome and maybe make a playoffs for one more time and then hang it up and continue to work on that foundation. I think that's the I hesitate to say dream scenario because you'd love to win a Super Bowl and have confetti all over your face walking off for the last time. But if we're being realistic, that is a wonderful scenario for his send-off. And I think that everyone will probably treat this on the outside like it's Cam last season, unless we look up on Thanksgiving and he's got 9.5 sacks. That's kind of where I am on this. But ultimately, as we put this to bed, I talked about it yesterday, and this is Cam's version of it today. We'll kind of put this storyline to bed. We'll talk to Sharif about it in the second hour. Ultimately, this is a win for everyone. It's a win for Cam Jordan, the football player. It's a win for Cam Jordan, the father and husband. It's a win for Cam Jordan, the foundation head. And it is certainly a win for the New Orleans Saints and the community in New Orleans to have Cam Jordan be a one uniform guy and a guy that has been such a positive influence on an organization and a city. And when you take a guy in the first round of the draft, you never really know what you're getting. And a lot of times you get a nice player who ends up somewhere else at some point. A lot of times you get a league average player. A lot of times you get a Pro Bowler. And a lot of times you get a guy that just doesn't really live up to expectations. Rarely do you get a guy that shows up for 16 years, makes Hall of Fame. And he's at least making the Saints Hall of Fame, and he's probably going to make the other one too. And so really, really good day for the Saints, for New Orleans, for Cam Jordan yesterday. And we'll kind of put a bow on that with Sharif Ishak, who was in the room yesterday. Later on. Saints back at it in mandatory minicamp today. Practice ongoing right now as we speak. So we'll get a thought on that from Sharif Ishak when we return in hour number 2 as well. It is What If Wednesday. Very much invite all of you to our text line, 225-499-1045. Shoot us a text if you've got a what if. We got 3 or 4 of them right now that have come from Twitter and the Bayou Ford chat. But if you got another one, we will file those in for the next segment and get to some what ifs. We'll do sports. We'll do whatever you want. It's What If Wednesday coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Ochsner reminding you all month long, that is all during the month of June, about getting active and staying active, right? That's what Ochsner wants to do. Whether you're an athlete or just an active person, Ochsner Andrews Orthopedics and Sports Medicine Institute can help get you moving and keep you moving. You got access through Ochsner to the highest levels of specialized care. You got nationally renowned expertise. You've got the latest equipment, modern facilities, and you've got a convenient walk-in orthopedic clinic at Elite Training Complex right there on Burbank if you need care fast, whether it's sprains, strains, minor dislocations, sports injuries, including ACL tears. You can walk into Elite's Training Complex and start on the path to recovery. Ochsner Andrews Institute is there to help you move your healing forward and get you back to doing what it is you love. Maybe that's playing high school sports. Maybe that's playing some ancient athletes. Maybe that's getting back in the gym, or maybe it's playing with the grandkids. That's what Ochsner is here for. Learn more at ochsner.org/brortho. That's ochsner.org/brortho.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Wednesday show is brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools, built by Renaissance.com, built by Renaissance.com. West Virginia trying to punch back up there in Omaha. It is 2-0 North Carolina in the bottom of the first inning, but the Mountaineers have runners on the corners and 2 outs and just singled home a run. So West Virginia is cut that lead in half. So North Carolina wins there in the championship series. If West Virginia wins, they'll play again tomorrow. Keep you posted as we move forward here on a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. LSU added a relief pitcher yesterday. We'll talk about that in hour number 2. 3 things on the Ole Miss Rebels coming up football-wise at 2:15. Sharif Ishak, an hour from right now from Saints minicamp. Right now, it's What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question. What if?
All right, so what if you could play 3 private golf courses in the country?
Augusta's obviously one. That's
Okay.
my number one in the world. That's the thing I would like to do more than anything else in the entire planet is play Augusta National.
All right.
If you gave me one afternoon to do anything personally I could do in the entire world, it would be that. Shinnecock, where they play the U.S. Open this weekend, is probably number 2. Based on the look of that place, just looks incredible. And I think the third private course I would like to play is pretty obvious, is Pine Valley. It's one that they don't play majors on. It is a really, really exclusive club up there in the Northeast. I've seen a flyover of it on YouTube. It looks remarkably difficult, but I would like to play it nonetheless. So that's probably my three. It would be Augusta, Shinnecock, and Pine Valley, I think would be the answers.
Are you drawn more to like a more difficult course, or what are you exactly looking
It depends.
for? Okay.
Yes, I'm in on difficult courses. I think that's awesome. I like exclusivity because it makes you want to do that more. If no one can do it, like that's something you want to do. And also like history, which Pine Valley doesn't have history nationally because they don't play U.S. Opens there. It's just a really exclusive club.
Okay.
But like history at Augusta, history at Shinnecock, those are places that have hosted major championships, a lot of them over the years. So that would be something I would be very interested in as well.
All right, so what if the U.S. best athletes play soccer? I believe that most of them gravitate towards football and basketball, of course.
We would win because we win at basketball, we win at swimming, we win at track, we win at gymnastics, we win at wrestling, we win at everything. We win at everything there is. And we don't win at soccer because we don't put our best foot forward there. It's too far down the totem pole. And when they've got all, I talked about this last week. You weren't here, but Alondra was laughing at me. And I'll say the same thing. If you were listening last week, you heard this again, but Jordan wouldn't have heard it. Like turn on the World Cup.
Okay.
Find me one dude that looks like Saquon Barkley running around the World Cup.
There isn't. Oh, maybe like one Lukaku for Belgium, but that's about it. That's one person.
We got him. We got him. We got a whole league full of them.
Yeah, I'm about to say one.
So it's like we would be the best if we took our athletes and put our investment into coaching said athletes. Instead, we don't. We got a bunch of like ACC schools running around playing soccer and nobody else cares. The SEC doesn't even have men's soccer. So
they don't?
No.
Oh Lord,
we don't even have men's soccer.
It's hot down here.
I know. So and then they're the first team to kick off. They start in August. So it's like, yeah, I mean, we don't care. But we would. I don't care what Germany says. I don't care what Italy says. I don't care what Bizarre. We would crush them if we had LeBron in goal.
Oh yes.
Sorry.
We
they
had
don't
LeBron.
they don't have any LeBrons.
Julio Jones back in like, oh man, we would be dominant. But that kind of bleeds into this one. So what if the U.S. wins the World Cup? Does soccer actually become important?
That's interesting. And
popular.
I think the answer is yes. I think that you can trace back like landmark moments in sports that have created groundswells. Like Tiger Woods undoubtedly inspired a massive generation of golfers. All the guys who are in their mid-20s right now talk about watching Tiger growing up. I think that you'll see a massive movement from Caitlin Clark, who has transformed women's basketball. It just that type of impact is amazing on generations if you can kind of make it cool and make it through social media. So right now, if the U.S. just gets through group stage and gets bounced in the knockout round like they usually do, like nobody's going to really pay attention. But if you're talking about, I don't know how many stages are after knockout round. I mean, how many stages of knockout round there are till you get to the final. But the country will be on fire if they do that. Now, no one, to be clear, no one expects Team USA to go win the World Cup.
Yeah,
they don't have a single top 100 player in the entire field. But this is a what if Wednesday. It's a what if proposition. If they did that, this place would be on fire. And yes, it would inspire people to go buy a soccer ball, to go out for soccer, and to pay more attention. There's no doubt in my mind.
It would, but the only problem is it will never be the NFL. That's the only. It would never be. Yeah,
but you would inspire a generation if you did that. There's little doubt.
All right, so what if Oklahoma State beat Iowa State in 2011, causing LSU to dominate Oklahoma State in the BCS National Championship, allowing Miles more time, and Coach O never got hired, likely not getting Burrow or the 2019 Natty, but the program doesn't take a rut starting in 2020 till now?
Let's answer that question, then I'll dovetail it further. So if Oklahoma State beats Iowa State,
yes,
and they come down to New Orleans and get absolutely annihilated, which they would have, Les Miles would have had an 2007 title and an 2011 title. He got fired in 2016.
Mm-hmm.
I still think he gets fired in 2016 with 2 national titles. I don't think that 4 hours is what did. Now, it certainly did not help him that he came up with no game plan. T-Bob's talked about it. They worked on the option in December, showed up and just thought they could kind of play defense and hope they busted a big play, and Tyron ran a punt back or something. And they got their butts kicked. But you would have still had the same problems moving forward where you had a 3-year run of guys who left early, even though they shouldn't have. The Freak Johnsons of the world, the Malachi Duprees of the world, who did not need to try the NFL waters, but everybody at LSU was going, we got the most players in the NFL. Everybody else stayed here for 3 years. All my friends are rich. I'm leaving. And you had a bunch of guys leave early. You relied way too heavily on the running game. Your quarterback play was terrible, and I don't think any of that would have been fixed if Tyron did run 2 punts back and you won that game in New Orleans. So I think he still gets fired, and I think a lot of the same things do happen. That's my answer to the question. The second part of this is that I've just invented. Would you trade it? And I think if you're telling me I needed to go through the Mettenberger year with no defense in 13, and then the Fournette years with no passing game, and then go into the Les Miles getting fired, and then Orgeron stumbling out of the blocks with the Troy thing, and then Burrow shows up and gets to 19. Basically, I would have sat through anything that involved getting to 2019. And so I wouldn't change anything. I think there is something to the struggles making the highs higher. And there was a sense that I gathered from Alabama fans through the Saban era that September through Christmas were boring. They were going to go 11-1 or 12-0.
Yeah. And
they were going to get in the BCS championship game, or they were going to get in the playoff. And then it got interesting. And then they won more often than they didn't at a certain point. And that, I think, devalues winning to an extent.
It does.
And so for me, I don't want to be A&M, where I've never won and I'm yearning for that first one. And I don't really want to be Indiana at this point, who sat through atrocious football forever and ever, and then just had these 2 great seasons, and one was a win. I've gotten a sprinkling of success. I won in 03, I won in 07, I played for it in 11, and then I got what I got in 19. I like LSU's trajectory as much as anything because you had enough lull, enough downtime to where when you got back to the top of the mountain, it was awesome.
Yes.
So I wouldn't trade anything. I wouldn't change anything. I think it was all great.
So you're just a fan of the ups and downs of
Yeah,
LSU.
I think and look, in Ohio State's to an extent, what Alabama was, they just haven't won as many titles.
Yes.
But I think their trajectory is good too. We're always good.
Just dominant
The Michigan games are important. We're in the playoffs. Can we beat Alabama this time? Maybe not. Can we beat Clemson this time? Maybe not. And sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't. They ran into Clemson, who ran into LSU.
Yeah, but they was there.
But they're there. They're relevant, and they haven't won so many times that it's like old hat.
Yeah.
And so I think that's a good spot to be into. But I wouldn't trade anything.
All right, so what if LSU loses more than 2 games in the upcoming football season? Will the fan base be restless?
It's interesting, and it probably depends on how it looks.
Or who they lose to.
Yeah, that's kind of what how it looks means to me. That means they lose 3 games. I think if they go 9-3 this year and they lose, say they lose at Ole Miss, they lose Texas at home, and at Tennessee. That's your 3 losses. That means you beat Bama. That means you beat A&M. That means you beat Clemson. If LSU goes 9-3, beats Bama, Clemson, and A&M, and loses to Texas, Ole Miss, and Tennessee, and LSU fans think that there's a problem with the program or that the hire was wrong, I think you've probably lost perspective. That's my sense without watching it with my own eyes, just my hypothetical of what that might look like. I think that's probably a realistic way the season goes, quite honestly. 10-2, I think, would be a great year.
It would.
And 8-4 would be that was a little bit of an underachievement based on the investment in the roster. I think 9-3 is a sweet spot where everybody would or I would certainly look at it and go, I wish you would have made that play in that game to get in the playoff, but better than you were, and some really good wins. Let's keep it rolling. That's kind of how I would feel. But we're talking about the fan base here. And in the hours after a loss, everybody wants to fire everybody because that's just what you got to do. So, I talk about this now. There are people that are cranky with Jay Johnson right now. There were people that wanted to bench Jaden Daniels early in 2023 because they wanted Nussmeier to throw it deeper after the Florida State game. So that's what the fan base says. They want to get rid of the coach with 2 championships in 3 years, and they want to bench the Heisman winner. That's what fan bases do. This one is not immune to that. That's the way things go. So that's it for What If Wednesday.
That's it.
All right, let's come back and close out the hour. Y'all want to yell at me about the College World Series? We'll do it next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Let me remind you, my friends, at Boudreaux's Electrical Services, online at boudreauxelectrical.com. That's boudreauxelectrical.com. Give Neil and Melissa a call. They're the local team. They've been at it for 40 years. 985-397-1562. That's 985-397-1562. Or at the Gonzales location, 225-300-9389. You're talking about a company that's been at this for 40 years, making sure that South Louisiana residents have got that Generac home standby generator at the ready. In the summer, we've got nasty afternoon showers that come by, and they will turn your lights out for a few hours. It's a nuisance. We've got hurricanes that come through and can lose your lights for a week. Can't live like that down here, especially not in July, August, September. It's 100 degrees. Make sure you got the peace of mind of that Generac home standby generator from the local team at Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Local team comes out and installs it. A local team monitors it, and a local team will come out and do your maintenance. So you're taken care of. You can buy from the big box store. I promise you can do it. You may never hear from them again. At Boudreaux's Electrical, that will never happen. Neil and Melissa will see to it. They've been at it 40 years. Make yours next up for Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Online at boudreauxelectrical.com.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Renaissance Homes and Pools.
Well, I'm telling you, my friends at Fabry Chevrolet GMC, online at fabrychevrolet.com. That's fabrychevrolet.com. Highway 61 in St. Francis, Phil. Been under the Fabry family umbrella since October the 1st. So you're gaining on a year here up there in St. Francis, Phil. You know the Fabry family, 3 locations in Baton Rouge, 5 brands, been here for 35 years, and you're assured of wonderful customer service, a great buying experience, and great service after the sale with my friends at Fabry Chevrolet GMC. If you're looking to load up the family for that summer road trip and you're looking for a Chevy Tahoe, maybe a Suburban on the GMC side, a Yukon or Denali, gorgeous vehicles, they've got them, new and pre-owned. Check out the website, fabrychevrolet.com. It's incredibly user-friendly. The entire inventory is there, and you can sort it by price, mileage, make and model. You can sort it by whatever you're looking for, and then you can see what they've got in stock. You can start that buying experience online at fabrychevrolet.com, but go see them, Highway 61 in St. Francisville, and let them put you behind the wheel of a new vehicle. It's Fabry Chevrolet GMC, online at fabrychevrolet.com. Man, what a great game last night between Texas and Georgia. Just an incredible ball game. Dylan Vignew and Luke Harrison got the start, and this is the point where a lot of teams are kind of dipping down into their pitching. And that wasn't the case with Texas and Georgia. They've got 3 guys very capable of starting. Georgia, in this case, had not even gone to their bullpen yet. And Texas has 3 good starters. So Vignew goes 4 innings of 2-hit baseball. He struck out 8 and walked only 2. He had thrown 70 pitches. And in a spot where Georgia had a lead and Wes Johnson wasn't going to mess around, he goes to his really only bullpen bullet, is Justin Bird. Because they started Caden Aoki. In the last game, he goes 9 innings. He had been kind of a relief weapon for them as well. He went to Justin Bird, and Bird finished the game. 5 innings of shutout baseball. Incredible stuff against that Texas lineup. And Texas almost matched him pitch for pitch. Luke Harrison came out with the best stuff he's had in 2 years in Texas rotation. Set a career high for strikeouts with 11, 5 2/3 innings, 1 earned run against that Georgia offense. The breaking ball was awesome. He was blowing heaters by him, looked great. And same way with the season on the line, trailing, bases loaded, Jim Schlossnagle goes to Sam Cozart, the freshman sensation closer, and Cozart was awesome. He gave up 1 run in 3 1/3, but Texas didn't score. Texas didn't score. And I told y'all that I thought Texas won the game last night, and I thought their pitching was in a great spot. I liked Harrison. I liked Cozart. I liked Texas's pitching depth more than Georgia's pitching depth, but Texas didn't force Georgia to go to the depth. And Georgia hasn't been forced to do that. Georgia's really got 4 guys, and they've all 4 pitched. And that's all they've used, and they've gotten to this point. Now, they lost a game, but I liked Texas' depth, and the Texas depth was great. If you'd have told me that Texas was only going to allow 2 runs last night, I'd have said awesome. And they couldn't score. It goes back to the point I made on Monday, where you look at the games on Friday and Saturday, and you see the first 4 games, and you look at what wins. It's starting pitching. It's pitching that is winning. Nobody is slugging their way through this tournament. Troy was scoring a lot of runs. They didn't score yesterday because the offense will dry up. You have to pitch. And Georgia has pitched. If you would have told me that Georgia was getting a complete game from Volchko, a complete game from Aoki, and was only going to have to use Vignew and Bird in game 3, I'd have said, oh, they're in the championship series, 3-0. No, because they didn't hit. They're not hitting. It's pitching in Omaha. And that gives me a little bit of pause with LSU. We're going to talk about the pitcher that LSU added in this next segment at the top of hour number 2. But pitching is king in Omaha. You just can't slug your way through it. And I'm going to talk about this later on this week, Thursday or Friday. But Jim Schlossnagle is an unbelievable baseball coach. He was unbelievable at TCU. He was unbelievable at A&M. He is unbelievable at Tech. He is fan-freaking-tastic and can't get it done in Omaha. And it's not his fault. It's not his fault Texas didn't score last night. I refuse to believe that. You hear, well, Schlossnagle chokes in Omaha. What the heck is he supposed to do? Go hit Georgia's third and fourth pitchers. Score a run. Texas's offense has been among the SEC leaders in various categories all season. They didn't hit. It's not Pat Casey's fault that Oregon State didn't hit against LSU for 2 days last year in 2017. It's not. It's not Wake Forest coach's fault that Wake threw it in the deep freeze against good pitching in Skeens, but they didn't hit against freshman Griffin Herring the night before. You got to hit, but you got to pitch. And Georgia's pitching. And as I said, I think Georgia wins tonight over Oklahoma. I think they force a game tomorrow, and I think they win that. I think they're going to the championship series. And I think they'll have to run into North Carolina. I think North Carolina will handle one of these two. It may not be today, but Carolina would like that to rest DeCaro. The key for those teams that have won 2 games that are in the winner's bracket is to try to win the first one of these so you don't have to throw your ace on Thursday. LSU had to waste Skeens in 2023 and couldn't use him in the title series. Conversely, Anderson and Ianson were lined up last year. That's what you've got to try to do. Great baseball in Omaha. I have loved every second of it and will continue loving it today. That's it for hour number 1 here. If you missed any, catch it on demand. We'll pause for SportsCenter. LSU added a relief pitcher yesterday. I watched him. We'll see.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Marucci, go take a tour at Marucci. Go take a tour. Learn about the official bat of Major League Baseball. It's made right here in Baton Rouge. You can see where they make 1,200 of them every single day. See where they're cut, crafted, see where they're stained, see where they're shipped off to the best players in the world. It's all right here in Baton Rouge. If you take a tour, go buy a ticket, maruccisports.com/campus-tour. When you do, you get a discount in the Campus Tour store and in the Hitter's House. So what's the Hitter's House? I'll tell you what the Hitter's House is. It's where you take hacks. It's where you work on your game. If you've got a youth baseball player, youth softball player, high school baseball player, high school softball player, and they're bored out of their minds in the summer, want to work on their game, go take some hacks. Become a member in the Hitter's House. You get key card access. You can use it 24/7. Before work, after work, at lunch, in the rain, in the dark. You can do it over at Marucci. Check out the website, maruccisports.com. That's from our friends over at Marucci.